Okay. So before understanding lambda, we have to understand what is meant by lambda. Lambda is called as anonymous functions. Functions. So what is my anonymous functions? Function with no name. In other words, if you want to speak on this, okay, method with no name. So we are not going to give any name and we are going to write a small logic to execute. Okay. So this is going to be called as lambdas. So we'll be understanding more and more about your lambdas down the line when we complete your collections, right? There I'll be introducing again these lambdas and we'll be understanding what exactly the role of a lambda is going to do there. But for now, just try to understand what exactly a lambda means. A lambda is nothing but a anonymous function without having any name for that. Okay. So the syntax of your lambda is lambda expression lambda expression is represented with a keyword called as a keyword called as lambda, a keyword called as lambda, 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 right? You have to give your parameters, whatever the parameters we have there, colon your expression is nothing but your logic. The note that I want to remember here is lambda by default by default it will return a value, guys. It will return a value. No need to write the return statement. No need to write a return statement. Okay. So then Pratap, as this lambda is going to return a value, where I'm going to store that, how to store that, right? So to store that, what I want to do, right? The current syntax of your lambda is the syntax of your lambda is so some variable equal to some variable equal to this lambda expression. Now what happened here? We'll be passing your parameters. The parameters will be take and the expression will be completed and it is going to return by default some value. It is going to return you a value. That value is going to be stored in this variable. That value is going to be stored in this variable. So we have to access this variable to see the result. Now how to call or access this lambda? How to call or access this lambda expression? So now what you will do, some variable, whatever I have been given here, some variable, parenthesis, pass the parameters, pass your parameters, such that, right, your lambda will get executed and it will going to return you some value automatically. So let's see how we can able to implement your lambda expression in your Python. So for that, I'm going to launch my PyCharm. So let me create a new directory for your lambdas now. Let me create a new directory called as lambda. So let me create a new Python file called as expressions. Now here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a method called a variable called as add equal to lambda. So a comma b. So before that, let me write a small definition. Then we'll convert into lambda. So I want to add two numbers. So what I want to do here, definition add a comma b. So what I'll do here, I'm going to use my print of a plus b. right? So this is the way how I used to write my method. Now what I'll do, I'll be passing my parameters called as 10 comma 20. Now if I execute this, so I'll be getting the output here. Now can I able to replace this entire logic, right? So we can able to replace this entire logic using your lambda expression. So how can I able to replace this is, so just use your some variable name is equal to lambda, pass your parameters. What are the parameters? A comma B colon A plus B. That's it. A comma B colon A plus B. So now this 10 comma 20, right? We are going to be access this add method. Now this 10 is going to be replaced with A. This 20 is going to replace with B. And this A and B is going to get added and it's written back into your add method. So now what I'll do, right? I'll be using directly of print of my add of 10 comma 20. Now run this. I should be able to see the same output as 30. So for my method, I don't have a name, but still, whenever it is required, I can able to call it. Okay. A method without name is going to be called as lambda. Lambda is going to be called as anonymous functions. Now let us see the another concept called as how to do modularization. How to do your modularization. Okay. So now what I want to do, right? Separate the logics and execution. So now, for example, I have different behaviors available. Okay, I have different behaviors available. Say like calculator, I'll be having addition, I'll be having my subtraction, I having my multiplication, I'll be having my division, right? I'll be having whatever the operations I have, I'll be writing that. So now what I want to do, right? Write all the methods in one place and access them whenever it is required, right? So that is nothing but your modularization. That is nothing but your modularization. For example, right? I want to automate my application. I want to automate my application end to end. Okay. So there are multiple test cases available. There are multiple test cases available. Okay. So I know what are the behaviors available. I know what are the behaviors available for my application. Okay. So what I need to do is, here is create different Python files with different methods. Okay, different Python files and different methods, right? For module one Python file. For module one Python file. Okay, per module you are going to write one Python file. Say example like for login module, I'm going to have one page. Okay. For registration, I'm going to have one page. For summary page, I'm going to have one page. So like that, one file I'm going to be created here. So in each module, write all the possible behaviors. Say example in login, right? What are the functionality you'll be having? Say I have a login. I'll be having a functionality called reset password. I'll be having a functionality called reset password. I'll be having a functionality called forget password. So like this, we have different behaviors available. So what you want to do here is we have to analyze what are the possible of behaviors available on each and every module, copy them and paste each type of the behaviors inside your Python module. Okay. So to do that, what I'm going to do here is, that's what I'm going to call it as modularization. So now what I'm going to do here is, I'm going to create a new directory. I'm going to create a new directory called as application modules. Okay. So here what I'll do, I'll be writing all my files that what are required. Say suppose I have a login module, I'll be writing my logics here in my login module. So I have my registration module, I'll be writing my registration module here. So I have my summary module, I'll be writing my summary module here. So here I'm going to write, say like my test cases. I'm going to write my test cases here. Okay. So now to write my test cases, I'm going to create a new file called as tc_01. So now inside my login module, I'll be having a definition called as definition called as login, where I'm going to pass my username, comma, password, and then here I'm going to write my statement called as username, comma, password, and just going to print it, guys. Okay, here in my registration, what I'm going to do here is definition register new user. So I'm going to use my print of register new user. So summary here, right? I'm going to create one more definition as summary here. So what I'll do here is print of user is summary page. So I'll be having three different models available here. Now in my test case, what I'll do, right? So when I want to convert this as a module, right? What you want to do here is, it's by default we need to create underscore underscore init underscore underscore file, guys, which is going to be called as installation file, where it is going to be convert this entire folder into your module, Python module. If you want to convert anything into your Python module, we have to use your underscore underscore init. Okay, this is a rule that you have to follow. So now I want to access my login module from this page, right? How can I access that? So first what I want to do here is use your from application modules import what, your login module, right? So whatever the models you want to import, just go and import it, comma, registration I want to import, comma, I want to import my summary. Okay, now you can able to use your login dot your login method. So what is the login method? I'm passing my username as Pratap, and I'm going to pass my password as password here. And then what I'm going to do, I'm going to use my registration, right? Registration dot register new user. Then I'm going to use my summary dot summary. So like this, I can able to access them. So now what I did, I make my business logic to be separated all together, and I kept into individual files. So whenever it is required, I'm going to import them, and I'll be start accessing by their names. Okay. So now let's go and run this. See now, Pratap and password, the logics that what are we have been written inside that is getting executed here. So this is going to be called as concept of modularization. So that is what, right? We have seen how to modularize your application based upon your necessity. We'll categorize them and will be call them when it is required. Okay, this is the basic operation that we used to do regularly in your program execution or program building. Whatever the logic you are going to be right, will be regularize it by doing your demodulation. Okay, now let us see about conditional statements. So conditional statements are used to control the flow of execution, guys. It is used to control the flow of your execution. Okay. So what is that? How to control that? Okay. So these conditional statements are used to control the flow of execution, right? So conditional statements use conditions for making a decision. Okay. So for example, if there is a movie playing, then only I need to book my ticket. Here condition, what is the condition here? Here condition is checking whether the movie is playing or not. Okay. Or not is called as a boolean, which is going to be called as a true or false. For more example, one more example is I need to verify if there is login button available on the application or not. I need to verify whether the login button is available in the application or not. I don't know whether the button is available or not. I need to verify whether the particular button is available or not. So the condition is verification of login button. Again, we'll be getting true or false. If your criteria is getting meted there, then that will be true. If your criteria is not meeting there, then that will be what? False. Okay. So in Python, we have different conditional statements. So what is this is called as simple if condition. Okay. Simple if condition, if else condition, and then else if, and then we'll call it as nested if. So Python will not support switch case, Okay. So user must need to write switch case logic explicitly. Okay. So I'll be explaining you how to write your switch case logic explicitly. When your collection object is going to become, then I'll be explaining you how to write your switch case logic explicitly. But by default, there is no switch case given by the Python. We need to write our own switch case. Okay. So now we'll understand about your simple if. So this conditional statement will check only if the user given condition is true or false. It will check whether the user given condition is true or false. If the condition is true, then only the logic will get executed. Else the logic will never get executed. Okay. So no other alternative logic will get executed. It will be by default, it will be executing only if the condition is going to be true. Okay. So the syntax of the simple if is going to be if some condition colon and indentation mandatory. A tab of indentation is mandatory, and you have to write your logic here. You have to write your logic here. Okay. Then what is going to be happen? Only if some condition is true. Only if some condition is true, then only the body will get executed. Then only the body will get executed. Okay. So now let's go and see that how to implement it. So I'm going to create again a new Python package called as conditional statements. So I'm going to write as Python file here. So I'm going to use it as simple if. So I have two variables called as a equal to 20, right? And I have b equal to 10. Okay. So now I need to compare whether a is greater than b or not. The condition is verifying the conditions, right? What is the condition? Greater than. So the condition that you're going to use here called as greater than. So to write your conditions, right? We should use some operators. We should use your some operators. So the operator that we are going to be called as arithmetic operators. Arithmetic operators. We call it as relational operators. Call it as logical operators. Okay. So we have different types of operators available. Under arithmetic operations, what type of operation we can able to do here is. So what type of operation we can able to perform on arithmetic? So we can able to do your addition, subtraction, multiplication, right? Modulus division, percentage, right? So different kinds of operations, right? We can able to apply. So on the relations, right? On the relation one, what we can able to do here, right? We can able to compare. We can able to compare two values, right? We can able to see the greater than. We can able to see the less than. We can able to see greater than or equal to. We can able to see less than or equal to. So we can able to see not equal to. So we can able to perform different types of operations that are available on the system. So logical operators, right, to write your strong conditions like and, or, not. So they are going to be called as your logical operators. So using these operators, we are going to construct your conditions. So here, my condition is I want to verify whether A is greater than B or not. I want to verify whether A is greater than B or not. So check the condition. So check the condition if A is greater than B or not. If A is greater than B or not. Okay. How to check that? So write a simple if condition if A is greater than B colon, right? Then what I will do here is print, right? A is greater than B. Let me run this. Now what happened? I got the output as A is greater than B. That's fine. Now if I make A value as 10 and B value as 20. Now as my condition is not going to be true at any time that A is not going to be true, right? So as my condition is not going to be true, what happened? The logic available in the line number 6 is not getting executed. But how should I tell the user that logic is wrong? You are not meeting the criteria. How can I tell that? So I need to execute some other logic, right? So we'll see about your if else. So when your if condition fails, fails or false. Fails or false. Then we need to execute. Then we need to execute some logic. Okay, explicitly. Then we want to execute some logic explicitly. Then we use your if and else statement. We'll be using your if and else statement. So how can we do that? So very simple one. Just go here. So bring your cursor to the in the indentation of your if and write your else here. Right? Then write your print of, right? A is not greater than B. A is not greater than B. Now just go and execute this. See now A is not greater than B, so that I got as A is not greater than B. So what happened here? So it came here and it checked whether A is greater than B. Yes, this got failed. Then immediately what happened? The control has moved into my else block. So the logic that whatever it is available there, it went and printed out. So let us see about else if condition now. Let us see about your else if condition. I'm going to create a new Python file called as else if. Okay. So I have A equal to 40. I have B equal to 80. 18 is some other number. Okay. Now I want to compare if A is greater than B or not. If it is A is greater than B, then I want to print, right? A is greater than B. If that is not going to be true, right? Yes, A is going to be failed. No problem in that. But I need to verify whether that A is falling in between the range of 10 and 20. So what I want to understand here is, what I want to understand from here is else if, right? When the main if condition is false, right? The main if condition is false, then if we want to check, if you want to check any other condition, if you want to check any other condition explicitly, right? If you want to check any other condition explicitly, right? So it means that more than one condition, right? If you want to check more than one condition, right? Then we use your else if. We'll be using your else if. So how it is going to work? First, check main condition is true or false, right? If false, it will check else if condition, right? It will check else if condition. Okay, so then it will execute the body, that is available inside your elif. Okay, so let me mark it as step number 1 and let me mark this as a step number 2. So now if my step number 1, step number 2 is failed, or if my step number 1 is pass, then remember that step 2 and subsequent steps will not get executed. Okay, so let me show you this implementation, how that is going to be available. So here I need to check whether A is greater than B or not. If it is greater than B, then this logic will be executed. No, if this logic is not going to be executed, then what I'm going to do here is I'm going to write my else if. Else if I need to check whether A is greater than 10 and A is lesser than 30. A is greater than 10 and A is less than 30. Then what I'm going to do here is I'm going to use my print of A is less than B. A is less than B, but it is in the range of 10 and 30. Okay. Even if this condition is going to be failed, then what I'll do, I'll be writing my else block and I'm telling that print A is not greater than B, also not in the range of 10 and 30. Now what will happen here is, see properly, if your line number 4 is true, then this body will get executed and these two blocks will never get executed. Say the first if condition got failed. If this condition is going to be failed, then what will happen? It will come and check this condition. If this condition is going to be true, then it will go here and the subsequent blocks, whatever are available, right, it will never get executed. Okay. So another question, right? People used to ask me, Pratap, we can able to place multiple ellipse? Yes, we can able to write n number of ellipse statements, right? It will not cause any problem. But writing multiple else if statement is not a good practice, right? So I'll be explaining you how to overcome that down the line. But now just remember that the syntaxes are important here. How to write your if and else if statements. Okay. So now let's check this and see how the behavior is going to be look like. So let me run this. Now see here what happened. So let me show you a line by line execution and explaining how it is going to be. So here we are comparing A and B values. Here we are comparing A and B values. So A we have 40 and B we have 89 here. So now, right, A is greater than B, right? No, it's false. A is not going to be greater than B. So now what happened? See, I got the output as false. So it will come and check whether A is available in the range of 10 and 30. So A is greater than 10. Yes, A is greater than 10. A is less than 30. No, A is not less than 30. Henceforth, this logic is also failed. Now what happened? The logic that is available in my else block is got executed. Henceforth, we got A is not greater than B, also is not in the range of 10 and 30. So let me make this as a 30 now. Or let me make it as 20. Now see here, debug your else if. Now see, as this condition is going to be true, so that the line number 7 is getting executed. And if you see the console here, A is less than B, but it is in the range of 10 and 30. So like this, we can able to write your conditional statements using your Python. Simple if, else if, else. Okay. So like this, you can able to write multiple if statements in your program. So now we'll understand and discuss about a new method, a new functionality. Okay. So called as range. So before getting this range also, right, we'll understand one more thing called as what is meant by recursion. Okay. So recursion means calling same action multiple times. Okay. So in Python we use recursion using methods. We use recursion using your methods, right? So call same method multiple times. Call your same method multiple times. Whenever it is required, call the same method multiple times. For example, print the numbers from 1 to 50 without using any looping statements. Print a number, right, without using any looping numbers. The numbers are should be range from 1 to 50. Okay. So now let me write a small method and show you how we can able to use your recursion. So this is one of the interview questions that asked in the recent times. So one of my student has faced this question. Okay. So now I'll be creating a folder called tasks where I'm going to write all my tasks under this. So let me create a new Python file called as recursion. So here let me write my definition called as print numbers. Okay. Here I'm going to pass a value called n. I don't know. I don't know what numbers I'm going to send. The range number I'm going to keep it as n. So here I'm going to write simple if condition. If I'll be creating a variable called as I here, I equal to 1. Okay. Now what I'll do, right? If I is less than or equal to n, right? Then what I'll do here is I use my print of I. Then what happened again? I'll be using my I equal to I plus 1. I'll tell you it. 1 second. Wait. So we need to print the numbers which are available in between 1 to 50. Okay. So what I told, we need to use our recursion. So to do this recursion, right, I'll be using the yesterday concept called as positional arguments and keyword arguments concept here again. So now my major motto is to print the numbers from 1 to 50. So how can I print to 1 to 50? See here, I'm going to create definition print numbers, right? I'm going to tell that what is my starting position from where I want to start it. Okay. From then how many numbers I want to print it. Say like my starting number is going to be 10, 10 to 100 or 30 to 50. So I'm going to give my starting position and my ending position here. Then, right, I'm going to use a condition saying that if my I value is less than or equal to n. If it is going to be less than or equal to n, then what I'll do here is I'll be printing my I value here. Then I need to increment the I value also. I equal to I plus 1. And then once that is completed, again I'm going to call the same method again and again. At one point of time, I is going to meet my n value and it is getting failed such that it will get exit out. Okay. So now I'm going to call my print numbers as my starting position is going to be called as 1 and ending position is going to be called as 50. Now see here how the loop is going to execute here is how the recursion is going to be happen. So I is going to replace with 1, n is going to replace with 50. So let me go inside. Now I equal to 1, n equal to 50. So 1 is less than equal to 50, right? It's true. So that it will come inside and it will print the I value 1. Now what I did, I incremented the I value by 1 again. I equal to I plus 1. So again what I'm doing here, print numbers, I'm sending the again I value. Now what is the I value? I equal to 2 here. So let me go back again here. So it went just like that, right? I equal to 20, 40 and 50. Okay. So let me show you one more time. So I'm going to debug it step by step. I went inside. I is less than or equal to 50, right? No problem here. I become 2. And then again, I is what? 2, right? So 2 is less than or equal to 50. Yes. Again, it came and print the console value as 2. I became 3. So like this, what happened? Every time I will get check whether I is less than or equal to 50 or not. So every time we are incrementing the I value plus 1. At one point of time, I is going to meet 50 so that it will not go inside and it will exit out. Okay, such that we can able to print the numbers from 1 to 50 using your recursion concept. So here what we did here, based upon our condition, right, we are calling the same method again and again. We are calling the same method again and again. So that is what we implemented here, the concept of recursion. So this is one of the interview questions that asked by one of the company to my student. Okay, and this is the output we got.